You're such an asshole.
All right, beleaguered and tired Cappy. I went to the gym to get the girls. And then I laid some pipe, literally, uh, threaded it underneath the driveway at the Southern Command for irrigation purposes because I am not a liberal arts major and I am one of the last few men that remains on the planet. I'm kidding. There's still plenty more, but you girls wouldn't be interested unless I have my master's degree in poetry. And I'm beat tired. I had a little bit of a lunch and I'm dying. But we have 14 videos to do at minimum. And I don't know how long my voice will hold up. So let's get to it. Hello, you curmudgeonly diminutive prick. How much for a YouTube video on what to do after you've secured financial freedom in life in the US? I want to hear your advice on the best cities to own property, to rent, and where to ride a motorcycle to keep the demons away. All right. So those are kind of two separate questions. P.S. Don't walk outside of South Dakota in any snowstorms. We wouldn't want you to get buried in any snow drifts. Yeah, South Dakota, well, it's every year. It's cold. Just so you know, for those of you like, oh, Cappy goes to South Dakota. I'd like to go to South Dakota. Well, go there in winter. There's a reason I go to Vegas. You know, you may not, you may prefer Vegas and no snow. So let's kind of go through these one by one. This is going to be a problem, as I've said before. Many men and some women too are going to be facing earlier and earlier on as we become a post-marriage society, and women generally want nothing to do with the vast majority of men. We're not going to be forming families. You will not have, and that's what you would normally have. I'm of that age. You know, I see my peers my age have little kids, nephews and nieces, and I'm not blood related, but I'm Uncle Aaron, you know, and here's some money, kid. All right. Your parents said that. Yeah, I know your old man. He's full of it. Yeah, you could do it anyway. So the answer is simple. You were supposed to have children. You're supposed to have families. But I won't mention which of the sexes is not all that interested. And they are when you poll them and you find out that according to Zoomer women, men finding a man is 8th on the list with kids at number 7th. I believe that was the latest data. And millennial women who are now approaching menopause, the older ones of them anyway, men are fourth on the list. Don't tell me it was men who abandoned women. So that is off the table, which is why I wrote the book, The Menu, Life Without the Opposite Sex. It's linked down below. Just so you know, black and white, that's what you were supposed to be here for family and love. That's what it was. All right. Now, that being said, it wasn't like literally the eons and the thousands of generations that came before us. Men hadn't faced this where they had their kids, the kids went away, and you're like, oh, you were empty nesters. And it wouldn't be a while until you had grandkids. And even that, well, back in the day, grandkids would be nearby. But more modernly, grandkids could be across the country. Normally, that would have given you another point and purpose, family. But modernly, that even if you do have kids and they have kids, doesn't mean you're going to see your grandkids or even be living nearby. And so people in the past had to come up, well, what do we do? What's the point and purpose? And you had to become somewhat more inwardly focused. Hopefully you have a spouse that loved and supported you. I don't mean financially, but psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. Hopefully, and I would say I know it's funny how I post a picture of a redhead with big tits, but I'm not joking. The number one best vice that, especially now, doesn't because of birth control, the number one healthiest vice is sex. I think sex is very important. Like, all right, kids on around, bam, let's go have some sex. But I won't say which of the sexes is not as interested. You guys might take you a while to figure out who I'm talking about. But you know, and then all Westerners are becoming just fat, disgusting pigs. So that's off the table too. I don't know why you're all on antidepressants. It's a real Scooby-Doo mystery. But you will notice the main thing, family, others, and then it kind of, you know, I don't have the authoritative book on it, like in terms of hierarchy. I got a book on it, but I don't know if I don't have the hierarchy. But community, fellowship, A lot of times you'd find that in religion, which kind of borders on life philosophy, but plus a real scary aspect of mortality. And so that kind of drives people to religion, especially if there's an afterlife and 72 virgins and you get to hang out with St. Peter and drink beer and all that other stuff. See your dog from your childhood. So religion has historically played a pretty good role, and I'm not against religion. I envy people that believe in religion. It will give you something to do. It will have you belong to a community. Just don't just avoid. Just make sure you choose the right church. Okay, you just make sure it's not their real God isn't Karl Marx, more or less, or vagina. They get, hey, that statue of Baal sure looks like a vagina right now. Are we gonna talk about Jesus? Are we going to talk about Jesus? Get the guy at the cross? Oh, you remove the guy on the cross. Come. You guys are totally cool and woke and popular. Let me come here. So there's that. More modernly, if you look at only one gender, men were industrious. What kind of legacy did you leave? A lot of men will go to the career. We all kind of know you shouldn't retire because it's a death sentence for a lot of people. Though there's some guys who are perfectly fine. Talk about hobbies, the pursuit of excellence. And so all these are there are no wrong answers. None. And I tried the best I could with that book, The Menu, Life Without the Opposite Sex, because it's like, yeah, it focuses on, well, okay, in times past, you would have had a spouse and a family, but you'd still get sick of them. You'd want to go fish, go watch The Odd Couple. They're playing poker all the time. The movie. So yeah, it is a menu. It's whatever you want to do. And some of the main ones I kind of already touched on them. Family, if you got family, like my nieces and nephews. If you got siblings or extended family and they're around, your friends, which I think are critically important because those are the family you get to choose. A lot of times you'll find that in colleagues or communities, like the fraternal orders, the fraternal clubs, or you're at a local community. Again, a lot of this is done away with modern technology and people just abandoning community and all that and picking sides politically more than, oh my God, I got this type of genitalia. It's the most important thing about me. Oh my God, look at this skin color. It's the best skin color ever. I am going to base my entire life value on this. So you're going to run into some awfully boring and shallow people. That's where there really isn't a sense of community. Like, hey, should we cheer for the local baseball team when they go up against Ogdenville, Springfield versus the Springfield Isotopes versus the Ogdenville, whoever they were? No one's going to get that one. But that's becoming harder and harder. And so as you're finding out, a lot of the hobbies that you're pursuing are kind of loner hobbies, motorcycle riding, hiking. By all means, you have at it with the meetup groups of having people not show up and just not be interesting, but you have fun with that. There's some. You have fun with the fraternal orders, and you tell me if it's anything but a bunch of old dudes who want to drink, and you're like, how is this any different than a bar? Well, we bow and worship and have a bunch of rituals here that you got to memorize. And there's a bunch of ranks and organizations. And you think the military had a lot of ranks. Wait till you check out the Masons. Holy cow. Good. So a Royal Order of the Water Buffalo. So that's the point of life, is to make it count. So I mean, and I can't tell you exactly where, read the book. There's some guidelines. But mine is like, make it so I don't have any regrets. Now, you're going to have regrets. You're going to screw up, obviously, but make it so, I wish I should have done that. Well, go do it. Don't waste your time. And so, yeah, when it comes this summer, I think Cappy's going to get into power paragliding this summer. I think I am. I think we'll get into that. Now you ask some rather specific question. I want to hear your advice on the best cities to own properties to rent. Well, if you're in the United States, that's a lot of variables, namely, one, the market price. Specifically, can the rents cover the mortgage of the property? So that is very location dependent. And I would strongly recommend you tune in to Jason Hartman for that. He is the foremost expert in the United States on rental property investment. And the other thing is the rules and laws of the municipality and states, where, I mean, you just go to any major leftist crap. What was it? LA is limiting the amount you can increase rent on your properties, which is going to create a shortage of homes and in the long run result in higher rent prices and a shortage of housing. But I don't care. You Democrats know what you're doing. You're just so smart. That's why all the people who vote for you are so poor and miserable and debating self-deletion. Maybe if I get a master's degree or a doctorate, then I'll make the money. Yeah. Yep. No, you don't need no man. That's the path to happiness right there. Matter of fact, your entire value system should be on hating them and how you're not them and how they oppress you. That's the way to live through life. Yes. Yes. The Democrats know all. You listen to your professors. How is that Xanax, by the way? Is it extra special strength for an extra special person? So that and that's a moving target too. Different cities and municipalities are going to come up with different landlord and tenants' rights and rules. Different prices are going to move. Rents are going to change. The local factory could shut down. I would think if you want to ride your motorcycle and be free, I would at the most have like a duplex or a house where you got some buddies you can trust to rent out a room or so. But I wouldn't be in the landlord business. I was in the landlord business, and it's you got to work at it. Things break down, you got to repair them. Minor things like property taxes are due. I mean, just so petty. It's not that you can't do it. It's just petty. The gutters get plugged. And I've had pretty good tenants actually, but that's quite some time ago. But nowadays, I wouldn't rent to your average American. Your average piece of pig trash that's going to Walmart, oink, 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 thinking they're entitled to free everything. What do you think? You think they're not? They're entitled to free food, free education, and they also think they're going to be entitled to free housing. I wouldn't house an American now. They're deadbeats. They're parasites. They're pariahs. There's going to be a nightmare. So unless you knew someone like you totally trusted, like your old man was retiring. Hey, old man, do you want to ride around the country with me on a motorcycle? Nah, I am old. I don't like fun anymore. Because that's every old man ever. You say, hey, I got an idea. Why don't you watch over the house, Dad? And I'll go jet around. I'll have all that boring old fun. You stay at the house and just make sure it doesn't fall apart. He'll say that, and that means yes. So that's the only way I'd be looking at rental property for a lifestyle that you want, where you want to maximize your life and your enjoyment and freedom. Some you may want to consider to save. I mean, van life might be an idea. If you want to get exposure to property, as I always talk about before, you can invest in real estate investment trusts. You don't have to manage the property, pays the dividend, probably not as profitable as renting your own place, but without the hassle. So you get exposure to real estate. But you say motorcycle, well, why not van life? Why not just drive around the country in a van? Crash in the van, get the van repaired. It something to consider. And where to ride a motorcycle, keep the demons away. All right, let's pull up the old mappy map. Cappy Cap pulls up the mappy map. Let's start dead center, St. Louis, Missouri. How's Ferguson? Did Ferguson turn out to be a wonderful place with all that Democrat government money? Is Ferguson a nice part? I heard Ferguson. We've thrown lots of, right? It must be a wonderful town. Let's scroll out of the center part of the country. All right. There are 3 general areas in the contiguous United States I'd recommend for motorcycle riding. And I think I got plenty of videos. If you want to go and look them up in the archives, you probably could. But let's go through it here. Let's start from the east and move our way west. All right. The Rocky Mountains. I have not been to the Adirondacks. I don't know what Mount Washington looks like. I hear Ithaca is gorgeous. People in Ithaca will get that one. They'll get that one. But all the way down to northern Georgia. I very much enjoyed the Rocky Mountains, but I did a little. I did the Dragon's Tail. Yeah, do the Dragon's Tail. Go ahead and do it. But I also enjoyed just bumming around the hilly terrain of West Virginia, immediately to the west of Washington, D.C. and Pennsylvania. Then there's nothing, and then there's the Mississippi River. The prettiest part of the eastern part of the country is it's the National Scenic Byway or the National Scenic Mississippi River Road. And I have not gone further south than Galena, Illinois, or Dubuque, Iowa, kind of the same latitude there. So I don't know what it's like down further to the south, but from there all the way up to what's it called? St. Croix, Wisconsin, which is actually not the Mississippi River. That is the St. Croix River, I believe. That entire river valley that inevitably hooks up to the Mississippi in Hastings, Minnesota, and then continues to flow all the way down out to the Gulf of Mexico. That is some of the prettiest driving I've seen. And I wish I drove that more. The Lake Pepin area, all the way down to Dubuque. Maybe the scenery continues on, but it's just a very nice, pretty area. Then from there, continuing on west, your first legit bit of motorcycle riding will be the Black Hills area. That's the furthest east mountain range, more or less, of the Rocky Mountains. It then goes back to kind of a barren tundra in Wyoming and Montana, and then you can get into the Bighorn Mountains. But I would definitely do all the Black Hills. On your way out, I would do a little tour around Badlands National Park. And the Black Hills just have a bunch of roads that go through it. Nice, easy turning hills. Nice, wonderful. You have to do Spearfish Canyon. So there's that there. Then you have Highway 16 to 10 Sleep, Wyoming. Do that stretch from Buffalo, Wyoming over to 10 Sleep, Wyoming, then shoot north. You can ride through Yellowstone. You can ride through the Grand Tetons. It's all very pretty. But I would then also do Chief Joseph's Highway. I believe it's from Silver City or Silver something or Cook City, something like that. And you have to do Beartooth Pass down into Red Lodge, Montana. Now, from there, I haven't done all the different paved roads in the Rocky Mountain area. I'm sure Montana, especially the Montana-Idaho border, has some stuff, but I would putz around in the Bitterroot Mountains a little bit. That's some nice riding. But then, you can figure out how you want to hit this. Colorado, I'm not all that impressed with the Rocky Mountains of Colorado. Actually, they're tall, but they're not jagged, if you know what I'm saying. So what I only really like in Colorado is when you start getting to the southwest quadrant, where you can hit towns both in Colorado and Utah, specifically Gateway, Colorado. I would absolutely ride your motorcycle there, and you can ride down to Nucla, come in, go into Cortez. While you're in that southwest quadrant of Colorado, I would do the Highway 550 stretch from Ouray, Ouray, down to Durango. Stop in Silverton, check that out. That's a very nice area there. Skip Telluride. Telluride's not worth it. Don't go to Telluride. It's just a bunch of pompous, rich, arrogant white people. That's really what it. Maybe they got their token Hispanic friend, oh, Jose, oh my God. And Jose hates their guts. But Telluride is like the Vail or the Sedona of that part of Colorado. Just a bunch of jerks. So you don't want to go there. But that route, Ouray, Durango, Cortez, Gateway, and then maybe back into Grand Junction, which is an okay town. It's not terribly safe, but then you got to make you got to get to the other side of the other mountain range, the other ridge. You got to go Moab and go all the way down to Mexican Hat and Monument Valley. And now you're starting to get into the desert Southwest area, which has its own riding. So let's continue on in the South. Arizona, I just go get lost in Arizona. Arizona is just a big old state for motorcycle riding during the winter. Obviously, you time this during the seasons. You want to go in July. But Flagstaff, Payson, 89A, Highway 191. It's just nice mountain desert terrain. It's wonderful. I would avoid Phoenix if you can. Nothing's wrong with Phoenix. I like it, but the traffic is just so bad, and it's a bunch of old people, retired people, and they don't know how to drive. So I'd avoid that. If you can make it, you're going to drive through a lot of desert, but I'd check out the town of Bisbee. You could check out Tombstone while you're down there. That's not that impressive. And then if you're willing to throw a little bit of our Latino brothers and sisters, I really enjoyed the motorcycle ride to Puerto Penasco, which is also called Rocky Point. Make sure you got all your paperwork in order and all that. There's a town called Ajo, AJO. It's an old mining town. And then you're a beautiful cactus. And you're out in the middle of the desert, Wile E. Coyote territory. And you go out and then you just go to the Sea of Cortez by Puerto Penasco. That's the most beautiful beaches I've ever seen in my life. And then just turn around and head back. But then the Grand Canyon, you can't really drive along it. But then I'd make my way into Vegas. Not a lot of excitement in Vegas. There's not a lot for motorcycle riding. It's all right. I mean, it's good. But then you're back on now the south west side of Utah, which allows you to hit Kanab, Hurricane, Zion National Park. You absolutely got to do Zion National Park. Then hit Cedar Breaks, then hit Bryce Canyon, and then Capitol Reef. That's kind of dead center, a little bit south. But there you go. Northern Nevada, there's nothing, man. It's just desert. Some guys like that desert riding, though, so maybe that's your deal. Southern Idaho, boring. You want to be in the Panhandle. Oregon, the desert continues on into Oregon. You didn't know that. That's all right. And then the question is, do you want to hit the Pacific Northwest? I think the Cascades are gorgeous. I would do Chinook Pass. I would drive out in Leavenworth. Putts around there. Do you have to go to Oregon? Not really. The 101 is nice. I enjoyed the 101. It follows the coast all the way down to California. And you're going to notice that I tell you to skip California because it's a trash hole. Why do you want to get typhus or whatever disease is going on around there? This isn't to say no California. The Cascades are not the Cascades. The Sierra Nevada range is nice, but it's really one-sided. You're either on 385, I believe the height, which parallels the east side of the Cascades. There's only like 2 roads that go over, or you're over on the other side, in which case you're going up into Yosemite, Kings Canyon. I'm sure they're all gorgeous and beautiful, but F California. Just F California. Why give them the money? From there, let's say you're in Washington. You don't have to do it this way, but I would then go through Bonners Ferry in Idaho into the Canadian Rockies. And this was the prettiest part of my motorcycle career. The Canadian Rockies, you start in Bonners Ferry, ride all the way up Panorama, Castlegar, get to Banff and do Highway 93. Pay for the fee and go all the way up past Lake Louise and go up to Jasper. Beautiful. Then, if you got the time, I drive over to Hyder, Alaska. Please get yourself an extra tank of gas. Bring a jerry can. You're going to need it. So you can say you drove to Alaska. Because the only other way is to go up the Canadian-American Highway up into Fairbanks, and that thing's in a debatable state of repair all the time. So I would then maybe come back down to the Vancouver. I guess then you could hit the Cascades if you'd like. But that was just the prettiest part of all my riding was the Canadian Rockies and I guess would be the Canadian Cascades running up into Hyder, Alaska, Hyder. And that's about it. That's what I recommend for your motorcycle riding. So there you go. That should give you enough to chew on for the average life expectancy of a male in the United States. If there are some tiggle-bittied redheads anywhere nearby that would like to join you for that life, I recommend you let them tag along. That's about it. So there you go. 197 folks tuning in. If you kindly would subscribe to the channel. So Cappy gets 100,000. Let's go through it. Nonstop trade, $2. 14 videos. Cappy's throats will be used more than 304. Flat Elkins, $2. How'd you enjoy the Super Bowl? Big watch party? No, I had a much more fun night. I got laid there. How's that? I mean, not that that's a rare thing, but I had sex. I don't know what you guys did for Super Bowl, but half you got pissed off and What else did I do? I did something productive. Oh, I played some video games. I relaxed a little bit. I did work on that irrigation system. Yesterday was diagnosis, today was repair. So I did not watch that. Wisdom Vision Productions, $5. Nonstop Drake. Cappy is already hour 304. He enjoys dancing for these shekels. Dance, economist, dance. Or I'll start cheating on you with Chad Elkins. Hey, look. Number one, you guys throw that guy way more money when he's on the dance floor. I know who the prettiest stripper is between me and Chad. Don't you tell me. Just some guy for $1. Thank you very much. And is that it? Is that it? Is that it? Is that it? That's it. All right. See you guys later. Toodles.